You did not choose the exhaustion you carry. Yet every morning, your shoulders ache with the unfinished battles of those who came before you. This hypervigilance, this persistent urge to overperform and protect, is not merely personal anxiety. It is an inherited survival blueprint for generations. Your ancestors endured silences, navigating worlds that demanded resilience at the heavy cost of emotional expression and gentle rest. When grief and collective sorrow remain unexpressed across decades, they do not disappear into the void. They travel down the family line. You might find yourself apologizing for taking up space, or feeling an inexplicable guilt whenever you pause to experience peace and leisure. That guilt is not yours alone to bear. It is the lingering echo of ancestors who were never permitted to stop running. Welcome to the sacred study of ancestral healing, the courageous practice of understanding and releasing the emotional inheritances of our lineage. Modern science now calls this epigenetics, the understanding that environmental stressors and collective resilience can influence how our genetic stories unfold. For communities of color and marginalized lineages worldwide, ancestral healing is both a psychological necessity and an act of profound restoration. By acknowledging these deep roots, we transform survival reflexes into sovereign peace. Take a gentle breath and subscribe to Inner Fables as we walk this path together. To understand how we break these cycles, we must look into an ancient parable passed down through the custodians of the great tree. Long ago, in a luminous valley sheltered by eternity, stood the great lineage tree, whose luminous golden roots nourished 5 ancient villages. Each generation of travelers was handed a polished obsidian stone at birth, a symbolic heirloom carrying the unexpressed tears of their elders. The elders taught that carrying the stone was an honorable duty, a badge of resilience that must never be questioned or set down. Until one young seeker noticed that the heavy obsidian stones were slowly dimming the radiant golden pulses flowing through the sacred roots. Looking closer into the dark, crystalline stone, the young seekers saw the reflections of ancestors who worked until their spirits wept in silence. They realized that carrying this stone was not protecting the family line. It was slowly draining the vitality meant for future generations. The village elders warned with trembling voices, "If you lay down the stone, you will forget our sacrifices and leave our lineage vulnerable." With gentle reverence, the seeker replied, "Honoring your sacrifice does not mean repeating your exhaustion. I carry your wisdom, not your sorrow." Walking toward the sacred river of release, the seeker stepped into the gentle current, where twilight purple waters met the golden glow of the horizon. As the heavy obsidian stone touched the tranquil water, it dissolved into radiant golden lotus blossoms, releasing decades of trapped sorrow into starlight. Instantly, the great tree pulsed with brilliant emerald and amber light, as children played freely among roots that were finally unburdened and thriving. This timeless fable mirrors the modern reality for communities of color, where inherited survival strategies are frequently mistaken for immutable cultural identities. Epigenetic research demonstrates that prolonged environmental adversity can alter chemical tags on our DNA, passing heightened stress reactivity across multiple generations. For generations navigating systemic inequality and racial battle fatigue, hypervigilance was a necessary shield. But in modern life, that shield becomes a cage. Archetypes like the strong stoic provider or the indestructible matriarch taught our parents that admitting vulnerability was equivalent to admitting defeat. Many of us experienced emotional parentification early in childhood, becoming emotional anchors for overwhelmed parents who had nowhere else to turn. When we enter elite academic or corporate spaces, imposter syndrome is often the ancestral echo whispering that we do not belong. Trauma is not just a psychological memory. It is stored somatically as chronic neck tension, shallow breathing, and unyielding exhaustion. Ancestral healing begins when we recognize that our nervous systems are still reacting to threats that our ancestors survived decades ago. In family systems theory, we speak of invisible loyalties, unspoken ancestral vows that unconsciously command us to repeat the pain of those who came before us. Without realizing it, the subconscious mind whispers, "If I thrive while you suffered, I am betraying your memory and abandoning our shared story." People of color frequently navigate code switching, the exhausting daily requirement to alter tone, posture, and expression to ensure safety and acceptance. This hyper-adaptability was once an essential survival shield. Yet over time, constantly masking our authentic self fractures our internal sense of home. Generational patterns often blur personal boundaries, making it feel selfish or disrespectful to say no to family demands that drain our vital reserves. Many cycle breakers experience profound existential guilt, feeling as though their ease, education, or peace is an unearned luxury denied to their elders. This conflict frequently settles in the throat center, creating a physical tightness whenever we attempt to speak our truth or set necessary boundaries. To heal, we must learn to distinguish toxic shame from sacred grief, allowing ourselves to weep for what our ancestors suffered without carrying it as our identity. Our ancestors did not endure hardship so that we would remain frozen in their pain. Their ultimate dream was for us to live freely and authentically. The moment you shift from subconscious repetition to conscious awareness, you reclaim your sovereignty and alter the trajectory of your entire lineage. Being the cycle breaker in a family system requires immense courage. For you become the pioneer who steps beyond the familiar shoreline of collective pain. It can feel deeply isolating to be the first to enter therapy, to name the unspoken wounds, and to refuse participation in harmful family dynamics. Yet you are building a bridge between honor and evolution, showing that true family love expands to allow healing rather than demanding static endurance. Just as trauma leaves genetic signatures, so does resilience. Every act of self-compassion and joy rewrites the biological stories we pass forward. As we prepare to step into practical daily healing rituals, pause and remind yourself that your peace is a gift to both past and future generations. Now, let us enter the sacred domain of daily practice. 3. Actionable rituals designed to integrate ancestral healing into your modern life. Ritual number 1 is the letter of sacred release. Write a letter to your lineage, explicitly naming the heavy burdens you refuse to carry forward. Speak these exact words aloud. I honor the sacrifices you made to keep our lineage alive, but I release the suffering you endured. Place the letters safely before a candle flame or allow water to dissolve its ink, symbolically transmuting generational weight into radiant wisdom. Notice the physical sensation of lightness across your shoulders as you affirm that your peace honors them far more than your exhaustion. Ritual number 2 is establishing sovereign boundaries without guilt. In collectivist cultures, saying no is often conditioned as an act of familial betrayal. Reframe your boundary as an act of ancestral preservation. When you say no to overextension, you say yes to generational longevity and mental peace. Practice speaking with unconditional love and clarity. I honor our family, and in order to show up fully, I must rest my spirit today. When guilt arises, recognize it as ancestral grief leaving your system, rather than evidence that you have failed your community. Every healthy boundary you hold creates a protected garden of freedom for your children, family, and descendants walking behind you. Ritual number 3 is the somatic lineage breath. Stand barefoot upon the living earth and gently close your eyes to anchor your presence. Inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4, visualizing golden roots, drawing timeless endurance and ancestral courage up through your spine. Take a second quick inhale at the top, Then release a long, audible sigh, discharging hypervigilance and inherited tension from your nervous system. Remember that your ancestors did not pass down only survival struggles. They passed down rhythmic genius, profound innovation, and unshakable dignity. By practicing these 3 rituals consistently, you step fully into your sacred role as the healed ancestor that future generations will celebrate. As you stand at this sacred crossroads, realize that ancestral healing is not about erasing history. It is about distilling timeless wisdom from struggle. Your ancestors survived unimaginable storms so that one day, someone in their lineage could experience gentle stillness, safety, and creative freedom without fear. You do not need to earn your rest through perpetual exhaustion. Your peaceful presence alone is the living realization of their deepest prayers. When you set down the heavy obsidian stone of generational guilt, you release not only yourself, but 7 generations walking before and after you. The future generations of your lineage will grow in fertile soil, nurtured by emotional security, authentic expression, and boundless self-worth. Along the river of release, every sorrow you have felt and processed becomes clear water, carrying old survival armor into the tranquil ocean of eternity. Your ancestors do not judge your modern boundaries. They bow before the courage and clarity you bring to a lineage that forgot how to stop running. Epigenetics reminds us that our genetic expression is continuously written. With every conscious breath, you encode healing and resilience into your biological code. True sovereignty is living in alignment with your authentic spirit, refusing to wear the protective survival masks constructed by previous centuries. Look upon the great lineage tree today. Its golden branches reach toward the stars because its deep roots are finally nourished by truth and peace. Take this quiet moment to place your hand over your heart and silently thank yourself for having the immense courage to walk this healing journey. You are the ancestor your future descendants will remember with profound reverence. The one who turned generational pain into enduring light. Which unspoken expectation or ancestral habit are you ready to release today? Share your reflections in the sacred space of our comments below. May your days be filled with grounded stillness, restorative rest, and the unshakable certainty of your inherent, unconditional worth. Walk gently upon this earth, knowing that your peace is the greatest and most sacred legacy you could ever leave behind.